For the past week, I've been sailing on Norwegian Aqua, the brand new cruise ship from Norwegian Cruise Line and the newest cruise ship in the world. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all about my 10-day experience, the Transatlantic maiden voyage of the Norwegian Aqua. Hello everyone, my name is Zach. I am the Traveling Man, and I come to you today from on board the Norwegian Aqua. We are just finishing up our cruise, what was originally supposed to be a 7-day transatlantic voyage, leaving Southampton in the UK and finishing in Boston, Massachusetts, turned into a 10-day cruise, as you might have seen in some of my other videos or some cruise news around the internet. Because of weather in the North Atlantic, we had to take a much more southerly route than originally planned, adding a lot more miles onto our cruise. We had to go a little bit slower than we might have wanted to. And while the voyage was not free of rough weather, this was one of the roughest cruises I've ever been on, and we had some of the highest winds I've ever experienced at sea. One night we had about 65 knot apparent winds coming across the bow of the ship. We had seas of about 15 foot. So it's been a rough, rocky voyage. Has the experience been rough and rocky? Are there things that Norwegian can work on this ship? And I'm going to tell you about that and more in this video when I tell you all about the cruise experience here on board Norwegian Aqua. And how I'm going to do that is through my steps review process. That's something I've created here on my channel to have a baseline, a standardized way to review all cruise ships that I go on, because I do go on many cruises. If you've not subscribed to go on those cruises with me, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. But there are 5 steps, of course. It's an acronym. The first being the ship. I'll tell you all about Norwegian Aqua. The T stands for taste. We're going to talk about the food. The E stands for entertainment. The P stands for ports, which there's not a lot to talk about on this cruise. It was all sea days. And then the second S stands for service. So let's just jump right on in with it. The Norwegian Aqua, the newest cruise ship in the world. I cannot tell you how excited I've been about this cruise ship. And this ship is the third of the Prima series. Actually, it's the first of the Prima Plus series, technically, but she does follow sisters Prima and Viva. And I was actually on Prima about 7 or 8 months ago, got to sail her last summer, really loved her, and that's why I was so excited to come on Aqua. Could not wait to check out this brand new ship. This ship is about 10% larger than her sisters, and some of the things that they've made larger are some of the lounges, some of the seating area, like in the main atrium, they've expanded and added seating area there. They've made some of the venues a little bit larger, because that was the primary complaint that folks had with the Prima and Viva. Now, in addition to the ship being 10% bigger, they've also made new additions to this ship. And premiering on the Aqua are the Aqua Slide Coaster, the first of its kind. It's kind of a hybrid roller coaster slash water slide. You actually get launched up into the water slide, and it's a very thrilling attraction. However, we didn't get to have it open very much on this cruise just because of how rocky it was and how windy it was. Also new on this ship was Glow Court up on the very top of the ship, and this is an interactive basketball court where you can play all sorts of games. It's a ton of fun. And then there was a couple of new eateries on board this ship too, including Sukhothai, which is the Thai restaurant on board. It's a specialty restaurant. I got to dine there, and I'll tell you about that a bit when we talk about food. And then also Planterie, which is part of Indulge Food Hall. It's actually included in your cruise fare, and I got to dine there as well. Now, while they did make the ship noticeably larger and they did expand some of those spaces, as I said, there's still some spaces on board the ship that need to be made larger. And I'm pleading to Norwegian Cruise Line to please make Indulge Food Hall larger. And I love Indulge Food Hall. It's probably one of my favorite places on the entire ship. But you go in there at lunch, especially on a sea day, and you just cannot find any place to sit. So I think they still need to make Indulge Food Hall just a little bit bigger. Actually, Indulge is not my only complaint. I have one more complaint about this ship, and that's, I wish if you're on the main pool deck, deck 17, you're going to walk from the front of the ship to the back of the ship, that you did not have to walk through the buffet. You have to walk through the buffet. It really chokes the flow of traffic. And when you walk into the buffet, they want to spray your hands because they think you're going to go grab food off the buffet. So you're constantly getting your hands sprayed with hand sanitizer, and you're simply just trying to walk to the elevator bank. Kind of a small buffet already, and then you've got all that foot traffic in there, and it's just people trying to get from the front of deck 17 to the back of deck 17. Other than that, I have absolutely loved the Norwegian Aqua. She is a beautiful ship. She has such a modern, clean aesthetic. It feels very fancy. And I mean, just look behind me in this stateroom that I have. This is a balcony stateroom, a standard balcony stateroom, and it is huge. It is one of the largest staterooms that I've ever stayed in, a standard stateroom, you know, not a suite or anything. And I've absolutely loved it. And I think it's now one of my favorite staterooms that I've stayed in on any cruise ship. I was also originally supposed to be in an ocean view stateroom, and that stateroom was also just a standard room, and it was huge. I'm putting in some clips here. I got to take a look at that. I actually upgraded just before the cruise using the Upgrade Advantage program, which is Norwegian's way to bid for an upgrade, essentially. And I won my upgrade for about $300. That worked out to be about $30 per night, so not a bad deal there. And it's especially not a bad deal considering that the very first day of the cruise, they had storm covers over the ocean view windows because they're on deck 5, very near the water. And so they knew we were going to be running into some rough weather, and so they put those storm covers on there. And about midway through the cruise, they finally took them off, but a lot of folks were upset about that. It's a safety feature, of course, a safety precaution, but they did have to put that on there. I was very fortunate, very happy that I was able to be upgraded to a balcony, and I have so loved this balcony stateroom. It's absolutely beautiful, as are all of the staterooms here on board the Aqua. Another area of the ship that I really love is Vibe Beach Club, and this is something that I paid additional to be a part of. Vibe Beach Club is an exclusive experience, and it's capacity controlled. So for the entire cruise, it cost me $269 for the pass. I loved having the exclusive deck space to me, and I think they said about 60 of us this cruise. It was so nice just to be able to go back there and relax. They have very plush, very deluxe seating back there. You kind of feel like if you've sailed with Celebrity cruises before and been on their retreat sun deck, it definitely felt like that. There was even a private bar back there. There were waiters and bar staff that would come around and bring you drinks to your chairs. They had umbrellas you could put out. So highly recommend Vibe Beach Club. Vibe Beach Club is also a venue that was expanded. I think it's something like 30 to 40% larger on Aqua than it was on Prima and Viva. So make sure you check that out, especially if you're sailing in the Caribbean and you want somewhere to lay out and get a good tan for the week. And you don't have to go to Vibe Beach Club to be outside. You don't have to pay additional money. There are so many amazing outdoor spaces on this ship. And this is something that I think Norwegian is doing better than anyone right now. They are creating outdoor spaces on their ship that bring you up close and personal to the ocean. And my favorite of these is Ocean Boulevard out on Deck 8. You can walk out there. There's outdoor seating for the specialty restaurants that are on Deck 8. There's Infinity Beach, which is kind of like an extension of the main pool deck. They have loungers out there for folks to use. They have infinity pools, and I'm talking on both sides of the ship. They have outdoor seating outside of Indulge Food Hall on the back of Deck 8. Beautiful seating back there. And that's another thing. All of the seating all around the ship is so deluxe. It's so premium. It feels like you're on a premium cruise line, but you're on Norwegian Cruise Line. It's not particularly known to be a premium cruise line. So I've really enjoyed all of the beautiful outdoor spaces, and I love that about Norwegian Aqua. And I'm gonna make a statement here that might be controversial to some, but I really feel it to be true after spending so many days on this ship. I think that this ship might rival the Celebrity Edge series of ships for me. I just love it so much. I stop very short of saying it's the perfect cruise ship because there are a couple of improvements they can make, but otherwise, a fantastic cruise ship. And it's gonna appeal to the young and the old, the people who want to come on and look for, you know, all the fun pickleball courts. They got glow court, they got the aqua slide coaster. They have all those fun elements like you're going to find on, let's say, Royal Caribbean. But then they have a beautiful ship with lots of places to lounge or just have a seat and enjoy the beauty of the ocean moving by, just like Celebrity Cruises has. So I really think I would equate the Aqua as being something like a mix between Royal and Celebrity. It takes the best of both of those ships and kind of puts them together. There's fun on top of the ship for everyone, but if you want to just lounge and relax, you can do that as well. And then one more thing I'll mention about the ship, because it's part of the ship infrastructure, and folks always ask me, the internet is blazing fast on here. I opted to upgrade to the streaming package. It was tremendous. It was super fast. And there was nowhere on the ship where the internet signal struggled. I had really good internet connectivity everywhere. Cannot say enough good things about the Norwegian Aqua. Really, really love this ship. And I do think she is an improvement on her sisters Prima and Viva. So for all those reasons, I'm going to give Norwegian Aqua a rating of a 4.9 out of a 5, which is the highest rating I've ever given the S for ship for any cruise ship before. Next up is the T for taste. We're going to talk about the food, and my oh my, there's so much food to be found on board this ship, from so many specialty restaurants to so many restaurants that are just included in your cruise fare. And I think you could spend, I've spent 10 days on here, but I think you could spend 20 days on here and still go to a different restaurant, a different venue to eat each night. That's just how much food there is available on this ship. However, I'm going to start off with a negative, because this was a big negative throughout the cruise, and that's that dining reservations were not available to be made inside of the Norwegian app. I think that might just be true for this cruise and maybe the first few cruises. They said that the functionality exists, it's just not available on Aqua because she's so new. So I'm hoping that in the future that they add that to the mobile app, because it's absolutely necessary that you be able to make your dining reservations and not have to stand in line, which is what folks were doing on embarkation day. The line was so long, probably 30 to 45 minutes long for folks to make their dining reservations. However, if you do board this ship and it's that way, wait until the second day of the cruise. And I know that might make you nervous because you might think I'm not going to get the venue that I want, but they actually open up one of the specialty restaurants on the second day of the cruise, and I think days thereafter as well. Because I actually waited till the second day and made my dining reservations, and I got everything I wanted, and there was great availability. My favorite place to dine on this entire ship, it was also my favorite place to dine on Prima, is Indulge Food Hall. You have to book a cruise on Aqua just to go to Indulge Food Hall, because I don't think anyone's doing it, any cruise line's doing it like Norwegian is doing it with Indulge Food Hall. You go in there, it's literally a food hall. You go in there and take a table. On the tables, they have iPads available, and on that iPad, you have I think there's probably 6 or 7 different distinct eateries that are located there in Indulge, and they each have a menu on that iPad, and you can go on there and mix and match between the restaurants and just add whatever food you want. Hit submit, and then servers from each of those restaurants that you order food from will bring your food to your table. And the cool thing is, it's delicious. It's some of the best food on the entire ship. It almost tastes like specialty dining, really. But it is included in your cruise fare. You're not having to pay extra for that. It's not specialty dining. I ate more dinners in Indulge on this ship than I did anywhere else. I just couldn't fathom going anywhere else when it came time for dinner, and I was like, where do I want to go tonight? Well, I would end up in Indulge. It is so good. One of the best parts about Aqua, for sure. I just, again, wish the dining venue was larger, but I love Indulge Food Hall. You have to go there. And like I mentioned, one of the new additions to this ship was Planterie, and that is a plant-based eatery that they have added to Aqua. It's just debuting with this ship, and I really love Planterie. They had all sorts of different bowls, and I think every time I went to Indulge, except maybe 1 or 2 times, I ended up getting some at Planterie. It's that good. So highly recommend that you try Indulge, and highly recommend that you try something from Planterie. And I actually was talking to a fellow cruiser who was vegan, and she was telling me just how amazing it is to have an eatery devoted to plant-based options, and that's just so rare on a cruise ship. So kudos to Norwegian Cruise Line for doing that. Now, as much as I love Indulge, one complaint that I have on Aqua is that they've removed the pad thai. One of the eateries that they have in Indulge is called Noodles. They have, of course, noodle dishes, and they used to have a delicious pad thai for lunch, and I would get that so often. However, because they've added Sukhothai, a specialty Thai restaurant on board this ship, they have removed the pad thai from the menu. And now if you want pad thai, you'll have to go pay the cover charge in Sukhothai in order to eat it. And that was a big bummer to me, but I still went to Sukhothai because it was new and I wanted to try it out, and had a pretty good meal there. I actually enjoyed most of the things I had. I enjoyed the Thai rolls that I had for my appetizer. I didn't quite enjoy the shrimp. I had the salt and pepper prawn. I didn't really enjoy that, and I equated it to being something like a Long John Silver's dish. It was sort of very greasy like that, very heavy breading, so I didn't enjoy that as much. But I loved my entree at Sukhothai because I got the almond beef, and that was delicious. There were so many delicious flavors in that. So I highly, highly recommend that if you're gonna go to Sukhothai. And then for dessert, I got sorbet, which was delicious. It had little pieces of candied ginger in it. Very, very delicious. And then I got the mango sticky pudding, which was also very delicious. And if you don't have a specialty dining credit, you do have to pay a $50 cover charge plus a 20% service charge to dine at Sukhothai. Another free venue on board the ship that was delicious is the Local. The Local is a complimentary eatery on board the ship. It's included in your cruise fare. And they claim to be open 24 hours, although I think there's like 2 hours in the very early morning, like from 3 a.m. to 5, that they're actually closed. But other than that, they're open all day long. And here on Aqua, you can either go in and be seated at a table and waited on, or you can go over to the bar and sit at a table over there and still be waited on. So a lot of options to eat. But the food was delicious. I went there one day and got some of the wings that they have. If you go there, you cannot miss the wings. They have, I think, a choice of like a barbecue, I think they have a buffalo, and then they have a sweet chili. And while I'm sure all the flavors are good, I got the barbecue wings and they were spectacular. And another cool thing about the Local is they do have an outdoor seating area. It's actually right on Ocean Boulevard, so you can be right up near the water. And it's right beside the drop slide, funny enough. The drop slide starts on deck 18, comes all the way down and ends right there at deck 8. So you can sit and have a good meal at the Local and watch people come down that slide. Now, one dining experience that I had that I was kind of disappointed in was Los Lobos. Los Lobos is a specialty Mexican restaurant on board, and I decided to go there because I've been to Los Lobos before on a couple of other Norwegian ships, and I've always enjoyed it. They have a few dishes that are kind of just like my regulars. Like every time I go to Los Lobos, I get those time and time again. But they've changed the menu recently, and I feel like the food was changed a bit as well. I started off with some chicken tacos, and those were very bland, and the whole time I was eating them, I'm like, this tastes like something you would get out of like a taco meal kit box, you know? It doesn't taste like specialty dining. Maybe it tastes like something you'd get on the buffet. For my main, I got the carne asada. That's my usual go-to, and it just wasn't the same as it's been at other Los Lobos before. I think the best part of the entire meal was the cocktail mixto, which I got for my appetizer, and that was good and very fresh. I enjoyed the seafood, but other than that, I was kind of disappointed in Los Lobos. And Los Lobos carries a $40 cover charge if you don't have a dining credit, along with, you guessed it, a 20% service charge. The savior of them all, where it comes to specialty dining, was Cagney's. I had an amazing meal at Cagney's. Cagney's is like the premier specialty restaurant on board the ship because it's the steakhouse. It's the reservation everyone's going to try to get, and I was excited to try it, and it did not disappoint. They started out by bringing some bread to the table, and I knew as soon as I bit down into that bread, it was so perfect. It was like melt in your mouth perfection. I was like, well, this is going to be a good meal. And then they brought me my crab cake, and I think that crab cake changed my life. It was so good. And I've had the crab cake at Cagney's before. I've eaten at Cagney's on Prima and on Encore, and I think even on Joy. Every Norwegian ship I've been on, I've eaten at Cagney's, and it was never this good. That crab cake tasted so fresh, like they had just caught the crab that morning. I loved it so much. I could have just gotten multiple crab cakes and eaten that for dinner and been totally fine, but I did not. Instead, I got an iceberg wedge shallot, which was really, really good. And then for my main, I got the 16-ounce ribeye, and that was like butter. That steak melted in my mouth. On the side, I got some of their house-made steak sauce. Normally don't get steak sauce, but I thought I would try it. Steak sauce was delicious. I got a baked potato, loaded. I got some sauteed mushrooms that were so good. And then I got some steamed broccoli. But wait, there's more. I got dessert, which was the OMG caramel cheesecake. And they call it OMG for a reason, because OMG when you're eating it. It was so good. And I'm telling you, that meal in Cagney's was the perfect meal. I don't know that I've had a better meal on a cruise ship, to be honest. If I have, it's been years. It's been a long time since I've had a meal that good on a cruise ship. And Cagney's has a $60 cover charge plus 20% service fee if you do not have a dining credit. But I highly recommend it if you're coming. Let that be the one. I think now just about every booking, if you're doing the more at sea, you get at least one specialty dining credit. Use it at Cagney's, I promise. You're gonna love it. So that's just some of the food I had on board the ship. Those were some of the high and low lights, but the food has just been amazing. I'm gonna give food a rating of 4.7 out of a 5. Next up is the E for entertainment. I've never thought that Norwegian did entertainment that well. On all the ships I've sailed before, they usually have one show, like a Broadway caliber type show, that will really blow you away, and then not much else happens the rest of the cruise. And that's been the experience on the first 3 Norwegian ships that I went on, so I wasn't expecting much different on Aqua. But I'm very happy to report to you that entertainment has also been made bigger. It's been made plus size here on board the Aqua, because it was absolutely incredible. The first show I saw was sort of the marquee show that they're having on board the ship, and this is the Prince Revolution show, where they're honoring the music of Prince. There were 4 different folks portraying Prince in that show, and it was so fantastic. I've never really listened to Prince that much or been that big of a fan, but for like 2 or 3 days after that show, I was listening to Prince because that's how good it was. The musicians, the cast members, they were so good at performing the songs of Prince. They did have that show and pretty much all the main stage shows 2 nights of the cruise, because the Aqua Theater on board the ship is kind of small. It's not made to fit all potentially 3,600 people sailing on board the ship. So most of the time they'll have 4 showings of each of the major shows, 2 times one night, 2 times another night. But the Prince show is a must-see. If you're sailing on Aqua soon, you make sure that you see that show. I promise you won't be disappointed. We also had a guest performer on this cruise. Her name was Cleopatra. She was fantastic. She performed 2 different nights of the cruise, and her show was just so good. Folks were talking about it all around the ship. There was also a magician that they had on board one night. I didn't actually make it to that show. And then they had the cast from Sid Norman's. Sid Norman's is like the pub that they have on board where they have a lot of live music, but they had the cast of Sid Norman's go to the main theater one night and perform in its entirety the Rumors album by Fleetwood Mac. And not only did they have it one night, they also had it, one of the sea days is like a matinee show. They had it like in the middle of the day, and that was so good. I left that show in awe. Again, not a big Fleetwood Mac fan, never really listened to a whole lot of their music, but I've been listening to that Rumors album for like 2 days now. They also had a show called Elements, The World Expanded, which was very good. And they've had Elements before on other ships, but this one was so much better. But Norwegian has put a lot of work into entertainment on Aqua, and it's really, really shown through this cruise. And one of the things we didn't get to see this cruise, unfortunately, was Price is Right. That's going to be the game show that they have on this ship. I actually did get to participate in Price is Right on Prima and absolutely loved it. It was one of the coolest things that I've seen on a cruise ship. So I was hoping to get to enjoy that here on Aqua, but it's not quite ready yet, they said. They're still working on it, so don't know how long that's going to be or how many more sailings it's going to take before they have that ready to go, but just make sure you go to that if you're sailing Aqua, and they do have it available for you. And entertainment wasn't only found in the main theater. They have entertainment all over the ship in way of live music. I mean, it feels like in every lounge, and there's so many lounges around the ship at night, they have live music. They also had guest lectures on board this because we were doing a Transatlantic. And they came on and talked about things like the Salem Witch Trial or Alexander Hamilton. The captain and first officers also did Q&As with the audience some of the days of the cruise. So they really packed this cruise with a lot of fun sea day activities because they knew it was going to be 9 sea days in a row, and they knew that they really needed to jam-pack the schedule with a lot of entertainment, a lot of things for folks to do, and they certainly did. So for all those reasons, I'm going to give entertainment something I never thought I would give entertainment on board a Norwegian ship, and that is a 4.8 out of a 5 rating. Next up is the P for ports, and we don't really need to talk about anything here, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about a transatlantic experience and what that's been like, because I was quite hesitant when I first booked this at 7 days it's going to be 6 sea days in a row. And the most sea days I'd done before, I think, were 3 sea days in a row. So I was like, I don't know, I'm going to get pretty bored. I don't know how this is going to be. And then imagine when I get to the terminal now, I'm at the cruise terminal. I had just checked in. I was seated waiting for boarding. It was actually just past 11 a.m. in Southampton. When they come on to do an announcement, and I think they're about to open boarding, but instead they say that due to weather and as a safety precaution, we're now going to extend this to be a 10-day sailing that ends in New York, which means 9 sea days. And I was like, oh my goodness, should I get on the ship or should I fly back home? Because I don't know if I can do it. But I'm so glad I did it because I have enjoyed the transatlantic experience. It has been so nice to wake up every morning and not feel rushed, which I love to explore. Don't get me wrong. I love to travel and explore a new port, but just to wake up and not open the shade and see a port waiting to be explored and having to be like, I've got to get ready and I'm on vacation. And sometimes that feels a little laborious. Can we agree that sometimes, especially if you're on a port-intensive cruise, it's just a lot to wake up early every morning and get out to your excursion. So it's been nice just to get up every day and feel no pressure at all and feel like the day is laid out before me. I can relax. I can be as lazy as I want to be because all I've got to do for the next 9 days at sea are to be lazy and relaxed. The only thing I'm really doing with my life right now is transiting from Southampton, England to New York City in the United States. So that's what I've done this cruise and I absolutely love it. So I'm not going to put a rating on ports because I don't really do that in my rating anymore. But if I had to rate a transatlantic, I'm going to give it a 5 out of a 5 and recommend that you do a transatlantic because I promise you'll enjoy it, especially if you just like to relax on a cruise ship and enjoy everything that the cruise ship has to offer. And what better cruise ship to do that on than Norwegian Aqua, the newest cruise ship in the world. I've really loved this experience. And now we come to the second S for service, and it was off to a rocky start on this cruise. Now, you imagine everything I just told you about being in the terminal and hearing that announcement. Some folks had to cancel and stay behind in the UK. For all the people, most of the people, which chose to continue on the cruise, they now had to change plans as soon as they got on board the ship because, oh great, we were supposed to end in Boston. My flight was from Boston. Now we were going to New York. I need to change flights to be from New York. So a huge headache, a lot of hassle the very first day of the cruise. But Norwegian did a really good job of making internet available to people. They made an entire lounge available to people so that they could go in there, change their travel reservations. They had laptops and tablets available for people to do that. So I thought they did a great job there. However, there was even more rockiness on the very first day that extended beyond that. And something that happened to me was I was, as I mentioned, getting an upgrade. And I won my upgrade bid the day before the cruise, was notified, get on board the ship, got my key card, which they do give you at check-in inside the terminal. Came up to my balcony stateroom, the new stateroom that I had just paid for. My key card didn't work. And I'm like, great. So I go to guest services and they're like, you're not in a balcony, you're in an ocean view. And I had to argue with them, pull up my confirmation showing that yes, I am in a balcony stateroom and I did win an upgrade. And finally they're like, we're gonna have to put in a ticket. They put in a ticket, but they were like, this is not gonna be resolved until after we sail away from Southampton. So it was later that evening before I was able to even bring my luggage to my room and unpack and unwind and relax a little bit after traveling from the United States to the UK. That was really kind of a bummer. Like I waited a lot that day in the guest services line. However, I'm very happy to report that after embarkation day, things greatly improved where service was concerned. A fantastic crew here on board the ship. They were so friendly, so welcoming. You can just tell that they're so happy to be a part of this new ship. So for all those reasons put together, I'm gonna give service on board Norwegian Aqua a 4.5 out of a 5 rating. That gives a final rating for the Norwegian Aqua of a 4.73 out of a 5. And I have to stress this 0.73 because that is a new record. No cruise experience that I've had since May of 2022 has been better than the cruise experience that I've just had on board Norwegian Aqua. So kudos to Norwegian for creating such a great cruise experience, such a great maiden voyage, great transatlantic. And even though things went a little bit left there on embarkation day, and even though a lot of folks had to change their travel plans, we still got 3 additional days on our cruise for no additional cost. So what a great treat to have. I feel very fortunate. I have had such a great time, and I highly encourage you, if you're even thinking about it at all, come cruise on Norwegian Aqua. I promise you. It's a beautiful ship. It's got delicious food. It's got great crew. It's got extraordinary entertainment. So that is it for my review on my cruise experience here on board Norwegian Aqua. If you enjoyed this video, please go down below, give me a thumbs up. Also be sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel. Would love to have you go along with me on all my upcoming adventures. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next adventure.